Hello, everyone. Just give us a moment here while we get started. Okay, so welcome everybody to today's Scrum Pulse. I'm Lindsay Velasina here at Scrum.org. Welcome to this awesome session. I'm so excited talking about AI and product ownership. Such a hot topic right now, and we have professional Scrum trainer Nils Oud here today, along with Thijs Oud, who are going to walk us through this future-proof product ownership, leading AI in the product and leveraging AI to be effective in your role as a product owner. So thank you so much, Nils and Thijs, for being here today, and thank you to our audience, and let's get this rolling. So next slide, please. Okay, so your microphones will be muted throughout the session. However, we do encourage you to ask questions. So we ask that you use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to ask the questions. If you have any technical issues, utilize the chat. We do try to keep the chat separate from the Q&A because we do capture all the Q&A. And in the event that we don't get to all the questions, then we will be able to figure out a way to address them later. But if you have technical issues or comments, feel free to drop those in the chat. This session is being recorded, and the recording and slides will be available after the webinar within 24 hours. So keep an eye out for that. You will get a link in your email within 24 hours. It will also be up on the Scrum.org website later today. So next slide, please. Okay, so who is Scrum.org? In case you aren't familiar, we are the home of Scrum. We were founded by Ken Schwaber back in 2009, and our mission is to help people and teams solve complex problems. And we do so through our training, certification, and ongoing learning. And there are a lot of free learning opportunities on the Scrum.org website, so please check those out. I'm assuming that you already have since you found this webinar, but there are a lot of great ways to just keep up your learning, and we always want everyone to continue learning and growing. So with that, I hope today's session plays an important part in that, and I'll kick it over to Nils and Thijs to introduce themselves and get us started with this topic.
All right, Lindsay, thank you so much for having us, of course. And my name is Nils Oud, and like Lindsay said, I'm first and foremost, of course, a professional Scrum trainer, and I really have a focus on product ownership. As I say a lot in my trainings, product development is a process, and in, let's say, a very negative Dutch way, we say garbage in is garbage out. In a positive way, and that's why we are here. We say, the better the input and the better the outcome we can expect. So product ownership is at that input side, and you are responsible for getting as much outcome as possible for the customer and for the companies, of course, right? So that is my focus, and with that, I would like to introduce Thijs a little bit. Thijs, you can.
Yes, hello. Well, I work for AgileVisor, which is my dad's company, and I support his trainings in AI as I'm doing a master's right now in artificial intelligence. And I finished many subjects featuring artificial intelligence. So I'm there more as a support function rather than an official PST, but I know my way around the trainings.
Yeah, and I think we are an awesome combination because, my focus is, mostly on product ownership, but also agile leadership and scaling, etc. But more in the Scrum world, in the agile world, right? And I have to keep up with AI. And I'll be honest, I cannot keep up so much as Thijs. Thijs is young, he learns fast, does his masters in AI. So together we train our PSPO AI Essentials training, and I could not almost do it without him. So I'm really happy, Thijs, that you take that really challenging part of the AI from me, or support me. So again, thank you for
It's
that.
been fun.
It definitely is. And tomorrow again, we have got another training in Amsterdam, right?
Yeah, an
So
online one.
see you tomorrow morning in the training room. Okay, now that's about us, I guess. I think we should get started. First of all, Here, this is a kind of a to-do, doing, done list, of course, and we're going to start with setting the context. And we're also going to talk a little bit about what is AI, just a quick primer. And of course, I'm going to give the word to Thijs then. And then we're going to go with that product owners have a dual reality at the moment. First of all, they have, let's say, products to be built. They need to understand what AI is as part of their solutioning, part of product development. And then the other part is about leveraging AI as in the role as a product owner. Now, then we're going to go bridge a little bit into to Scrum because that's still the foundation, right? We're at Scrum.org, and I believe so much in Scrum that an AI has a good place in there. And then we'll just do some closing off and talk a little bit about the new training from Scrum.org. Yeah. So let's take it from there. And now, I thought let's, as a context, Thijs and I kind of did some research and figured out, okay, what is, how can we most compelling tell, our audience about how important it is to kind of go on this journey. And we selected just 2 or 3, key studies and findings. And one of them is from the World Economic Forum from 2025, where they say that 39% of workers' core skills will change. That means 4 out of 10 skills that we currently have will change by 2030. If you think about it, that's enormous. Now, whether that happens, of course, that's another reality, right? But there is a big signal that it will change. And if you then look at that report, and then you will see that AI and big data is considered by all the companies, right, as one of the core skills in 2030. So we need to move into this direction, not only as product owners, but I would say especially as product owners, because if you look at the other core skills that are needed, it's also about analytical thinking. It's about agility, resilience, right? It's about leadership. And I think those are all qualities, including technology literacy, skills that I think are embodied in product ownership. So we are in this quadrant and we need to move there, right? And again, I don't want to say that we are going to be replaced by AI. By far, that is not what I'm saying, and that's also not what I'm believing. But I do think we should take more ownership as product owners in this area, both into understanding what it is and seeing it as solutions when we solve problems for our customers, right? When we ask teams to build AI-driven solutions, but also ourselves to become much more proficient in our job as a product owner by leveraging AI in our job. Yeah. So this is just one of the scenes that we said we were going to take. And by the way, Thijs, whenever you like to say something, chip in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, one thing that's interesting is that 2 days ago I interviewed how they are developing with AI, because there's a lot of people retiring pretty soon. And to decide whether someone else moves up and steps into the function of being a leader within the company or being responsible for certain things, such as product owner, they are actually looking a lot for diversity in skill and to be able to adapt to new situations. And AI can just help so much in that department. And she just kept mentioning how important it is.
So, okay, and then so thanks, Thijs. The other thing is that we thought it's handy to kind of state our case a bit in this area. Is another report that 78% of the organizations will use AI in one or more functions in the companies, right? That means that 4 out of 5 companies you are going to work with or are you already working with are using AI somewhere, and it's rapidly increasing, right? It will go to probably 100% soon. And another thing is that more than 80% will have used Gen AI apps and APIs by 2026. Gartner report, right? So it's not only like the World Economic Forum saying that we need to move there, but it's also happening in the companies. It's now. It's not coming. It's already there. And yet, and that's what we found as another nice statistic, Thijs and myself, is that 95% of the Gen AI pilots fail to deliver measurable ROI, right? And that's also a statistic we should not ignore. So yes, we are using it, we're trying to do it, at the same time, a lot of failure. And here again, I see the link to the product owner. I see our responsibility as product owners to kind of help those businesses, right? By not just implementing AI because there is AI, but to figure out, okay, where is the purpose of the AI? So what is the problem that we are trying to solve? And then figure out which AI can help us, right? That's our job as product owners. And I think we see a lot of failure because we may not be there yet. Yeah, and we are growing into this space.
Yeah, no, I agree with this. And the role as a product owner is to maximize the value, right? And at the Bundesbank, you also see that the infrastructure is just not there yet. So they've got a lot of AI tools to analyze the data, but the way they have stored all their data is not compatible with these AI tools. And the people working with it also are not good enough yet to adopt it fully.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of work on both ends, just the AI tools and then the people themselves, the companies.
Yeah. Yeah. So, with having said that, this all context placing, we really want to stress, and it's also in the title of this webcast, there is a dual reality with AI. So it's not just we need to think about, okay, how can we implement AI solutions in the product, like new features, chatbots, personalization, fraud detection, etc. But it's also about AI for the product owner. How can we do better in our job so that we have more time for visioning, refinement, metrics, etc. Yeah? And our task is that we must lead at both. So we do need to become more AI literate. We need to understand better what AI solutions are and the downsides and the risk and the unpredictability that comes with it, but also leverage the AI tools that are out there for us. Yeah? And especially Gen AI, of course, where I'm talking about. Yeah. So this presentation is kind of moving into those two areas. Yeah. But before we go there, Thijs is going to take us a little bit through, okay, a little bit of an AI primer. Because what is it? We don't know our audience. We don't know how literate you are. Perhaps you are much more literate than us, and perhaps less.
Yeah.
So we do a little bit of a primer so that we all ground ourselves about, okay, what do we mean with AI? It's going to be short and sweet.
Yes. So the big question is, what do we actually mean by AI? And in order to understand what AI is today, you also need to learn a little bit about its history, because the concept has evolved a lot over time. The things we see today as AI sometimes don't even measure up to our current expectations because of the movies that we've seen. We've seen Terminator, we've seen people with independent thought and autonomy. And that is just not all that AI is, or not yet, maybe. So let's start off with classical AI. Classical AI is the simplest form of AI. It is basically where you have output X, which turns into, or input X, which turns into output Y. It's a very simple rule-based system, and it's very predictable as well. And the best example of this is back in the day, around 1997, we had a chess program, Deep Blue, that figured out the game of chess so well because we gave it the rules and it ran so many iterations that it was able to beat the reigning champion at that time, Garry Kasparov, in a one-on-one in a chess match, which was a breakthrough at that time. There's also many other examples of self-driving cars in the 1980s, but these are all very hard for classical AI because it needs to be super predictable and the amount of rules set needs to be very clear. So classical AI was very powerful in well-defined domains, but it couldn't adapt or learn. And that is exactly why we went to machine learning. And that is also where AI starts to feel really powerful nowadays in machine learning. During my studies, we did sentiment analysis, for example. And what we did is we analyzed 50,000 tweets and we analyzed the sentiment of each headline. Same for newspapers. You have manual coding as the input. We had 4 people programming at the same time. And we gave it this set of rules. What the difference is between classical AI and machine learning is that you don't need to set all the rules and all the parameters. Because by giving it a few, it can start to learn its own parameters by itself over time. So after a few iterations, it started training itself and it started learning and adjusting. And that is the main power of machine learning. Then to move on to the next, which is deep learning, is where you see most of the current features today. That is kind of like imitating a neural network in the brain, but a very specific and very small part of it. It's multi-layered neural networks. The thing is with multi-layered neural networks is that they all talk to each other and they communicate. This can be defined as context within AI. So it can read back thousands of messages and it can predict thousands of messages to the front in order to determine what is the most likely word to come next. Then with deep learning, a few examples of these are, for example, recommendation engines behind Netflix, voice assistants like Siri or Alexa, or facial recognition on your phone. And these all became large in about 2012. Yeah. And moving on from machine learning, where you just learned by itself the rules, we went to generative AI. And this was a really big breakthrough around 2021. I think everyone is using it nowadays. It's image generation, it's text generation, it's summarization, it can be even translation. And it's basically used everywhere today within these companies. The next stage in AI is something we haven't quite arrived at yet, and that is all-purpose AI or general purpose AI. And it's the thing we fantasize about. We don't know when it will happen. We don't know what its full range of capabilities will be. But it will be very interesting to live through this experience, and I'm looking forward to it. And we can now see companies also trying to move in these directions. So during the last interview that I referred to earlier, now, as we all know, you don't just learn skills easily, you build up with experience. What they are investing in is educating their workforce in AI so that these skill sets that they might not have the experience, AI can fill in a large gap of this. This is also what we teach during the trainings, where you can use AI as reference or as inspiration. And at the same time, because there's such a huge gap in the market coming, they are trying to build their own agents within the company. And that is probably the next stage that we're moving towards now, and that is agentic AI. And in the near future, it will just start trying to replace certain jobs. We don't know when it will come. We don't know how true this really is, but they are working on it right now in multiple companies.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's kind of why we are here, right? And this point of view, and I think you're gonna take us through this exercise a little bit, right? Kind
Yeah.
of understand a little better what it is.
Yeah, so to really understand it, you can follow along a little bit. You cannot fill this out yourself, but if you read the prompts and listen to them, just think, is this generative AI or would this classify as machine learning? So for the first statement, it is can generate original images, text, or audio. And I think we went through this a lot. This is obviously a generative AI. You think of DALL-E, you think of FreePic, you think of ChatGPT. All these tools are generative. The second statement is learns patterns in data, but does not create new data. And this is a really simple and specific function that falls under the category of machine learning. Third statement is the model's trained to predict a specific label or outcome. And when you go into the specifics, you're talking about machine learning. If there's generative AI, it is generative. The fourth statement is encrypts messages, so only the sender and receiver can read them. And this is also a very simple input. You encrypt it, the output comes out. And that is also machine learning. Can turn a text prompt into a fully rendered image. This is where it starts creating new data. So it learns from the input and it creates something entirely different. Then that is generative, often used for summarization, translation, and content creation. And I must say that this one can be a bit debatable because, for example, translation, we had Google Translate for a while. And if you gave the input I and you said translate to Spanish or something, you will get a direct output. The output will be Y. Now, actually, they have incorporated Gemini and they have incorporated other generative AI into these translative features. So now that when you generate a certain text, it can actually measure the context from within you are sending the text. And that is important because at that point, you're just creating new text. That is why it's also generative.
Now, this is a primer, right? And of course, there's much more to say, but at least we've got to ground ourselves a little bit into what we mean with AI and generative AI and what's about to come. Yeah. Now let's go into the next topic, right? Which is kind of product owner confronted with AI in the product. So as a product owner, you need to kind of understand a bit what is it when we go for understanding a problem from the customer or for the company or whatever, and then turning that into a solution and then using AI as a means to solve that, right? And I guess, it's we should not be too afraid of it, right? I mean, it's not magic in that sense. It may be magical, but in the end, it's just another tool that we are going to use to solve a problem. Yeah? But we have to understand, if you use AI solutions, that it comes with risk and it comes with uncertainty. And I think that is something that we have to start realizing as a product owner in this area. And we have to cater for that much more than we did with all the other solutions, right? So if we would have built an API or a database or I don't know, another let's say a technical solution, then you knew actually what was going to happen. But with AI, you don't know it, and there are big risks, and there is unpredictability, right? So it's still something that we just have to master as a product owner and understand a little bit what it's all about in order to come to better solutions for our customers, right? Or outcomes. Yeah.
And I want to
Yeah.
quickly interject. There was one quick question about where large language models fit into the structure, and they completely fall under generative AI. The large language model are so complex, they've got so many different layers to them and so much different context that they can start generating something new. These other models, they don't have this capability. They divide things up into tokens, into bytes, into megabytes, and there's so many things at the same time being processed that you need a large language model processing in order to actually generate something new.
Yeah.
I hope this answered that.
Yeah, and again, in the training here, PSP AI Essentials, we really go into what it means with the models, where is the data stored, what are security risks, compliance, and all these kinds of things. But we will not touch upon that now. We will just talk about it, but we will not have the time yet to all explain everything, right? All right, so again, AI in the product, as a product owner, just see it as another, new technology that is in our hands and that can solve problems for our customers, right? And we need to turn it into outcomes. Now, if you look at practical examples, Thijs already mentioned one. For example, the customer experience area, there is Netflix. And we should not say like, okay, there is an AI solution, so let's start using it in Netflix. No, we should do it the other way around. We want something that helps customer find faster. And therefore we find out, hey, AI helps us, right? It's the same with operational efficiency, right? We want to detect early and prevent breakdowns, right? Oh, now there is AI solutions out there that can do a very good job for us, like automated scheduling, etc., right? Or we want to detect early risk and fraud in our solutions. Now, then AI can help us, right? As long as we keep thinking in this line, then I think we will go into a good area. If you go thinking about, hey, there is AI, we should use it somewhere, then you may run up into that first statement that we made. So many projects and implementations fail because we didn't figure out what is really the problem that we're solving, right? So that is where we as a product owner need to excel. And if you then come to turning ideas into measurable outcomes, then always ask the question, what problem are we solving? And give it then some good KPIs up front that we can measure if we are really solving the problem. Is the handling time going down? Is the customer satisfaction going up? Is the revenue going up, right? Still nothing changes. We're just using AI as a means. and not as the end goal. Yeah? And as a product owner, we have to keep shipping in thin slices. Especially with AI, it is unpredictable, it comes with risk. So prototype it, see what it does, and experiment with it. And only when you feel comfortable, then you scale up. Because if you just let it run and go out there, then you may end up in a very risky environment, which we will talk about it in one of the next slides. Yeah. So measure model performance. Is AI working correctly? And does it actually improve time, money, or satisfaction? That is nothing else. That is still our core butter and bread, let's say, for the product owner. But like I say, we have some guardrails. What can go wrong and how can we mitigate it? Now, I'm just giving you an example, and just it is of course a very severe one, that an AI chatbot give bad medical advice. So we implemented an AI solution, and we thought, okay, this is great because now people don't have to go to our medical professional, right? Because the chatbot can give. But what if you give bad medical advice? What happens? Now this is where we need the POs, right? To guardrail it and to kind of really monitor it. Is this something we could really, let run loosely in the market? And there is all kinds of things like data risks, bias. For example, a candidate was turned down for a job, or no, let's say a candidate was rewarded the job because he was male. And in all our data and our models, it says that in an engineering job, most of the genders are male, right? So that's bias, right? And so as a product owner, you have to detect that and you have to work with that and also correct it. There may be privacy issues, or the operational risk, hallucinations. Oh my God. Even when I was creating this presentation, and together with Thijs, and we were looking for good reports we could use into this presentation. They came up with reports, and we thought, yes, this is it. This we're gonna put it into the slide. And then you ask, okay, give me now the link to the report. And then it says, actually, there is no link for this report. So it just made it completely up, right? It came up with all kinds of facts and figures, not being backed up with any data, with any tangible reporting and from respectable resources. That's why, by the way, in the end of this presentation, sorry, Thijs, I'll let you, we keep all the links. So everything that we use in this webcast is all the links are available at the end to kind of make sure that we use good data. Yeah, Thijs?
Yeah, and that's the problem with this generative AI part, is that it could see a headline of a certain news article about a study. It can read that headline, and then it will start generating new, most likely to come up words. It will just predict what is going to be written in that article because it doesn't have access, and it will report it to you as a fact,
Yeah.
which is really strange, but this is the definition of a hallucination, where it just creates its own reality. And we need to be very wary of that.
Yeah, and this is just one example, but it's almost like with everything, you have to be so careful with this, right? It can be a great asset. At the same time, it can also be very harmful, right? As we just said. All right. So those are things you just have to take care of as a product owner when you start using it as a means for solving solutions, right? So it's not like you have to be perfect in AI. You have to understand everything. You don't need to be an ML, like a machine learning engineer. You don't have to be a data scientist, right? But we have to come to a certain level of understanding so that we can talk with the engineers and we can see the things that are out there in the market that can help us. You still are a translator between business value, customer needs, and the AI capabilities. And if for those of you out there who've done PSP01, we always had a slide about, okay, should a product owner be technical? And then we say, well, really, it doesn't matter as long as you're aware of the pros and the cons, right? So the pros are definitely you can predict technical trends, communicate with the developers, right? Understand the challenges and trade-offs. That is just as valid for AI. You have to take a couple of steps into this area. You cannot ignore it, right? At the same time, if you go too deep, you may lose sight of business, right? So whatever we taught in PSP01 many, many years ago, and we're still talking about it, it's still valid for the AI arena as well. Yeah. Now that kind of takes us, I don't know, Thijs, you want to say anything or it's okay?
For now, it's okay.
Yeah. All right. Now let's then move on to the PO leveraging AI as a tool in your job as a product owner. Yeah. And then we say, we came up with some facts about how can you become more effective in your job. And we came up with this MIT report, right, that says Gen AI can make skilled workers roughly 40% more productive. Now, whether that's true or not, right, whether it's 30% or 20, I don't care, but there is a lot to be gained, right? If you use Gen AI, as a tool for you as a product owner, almost like you've got many colleagues out there who can do some research for you, who can create presentations for you, who can help you debate all kinds of dilemmas for you, who can come up with experiments for you, right? That normally you would do yourself, and now you've got Gen AI to help you. So I completely understand, how we become much more productive. And
Yeah.
yeah, that
On
is.
the last training we gave, I noticed that there was barely any product owners moving into like the experimenter stance of like the 6 preferred stances. And once we've talked about the AI implementation, they all really saw possibilities in that direction, and a lot of them as well.
Yeah, 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 nice. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then another report that we dug up, right, is ChatGPT cuts task time by 40% and increased quality. That's about, answering emails and all that kind of stuff, right? That you can, all the repetitive tasks that we can do. And then, going further in the future, Thijs already alluded a little bit to it, like agentic AI, right? That can also then take really automated tasks. We're far not there yet, right? And so I don't want to say it's close, and I'm even far away from it, but it will come for sure. And the biggest challenge, what we saw, and also in the trainings and when we talk with people and we go out, is getting started. That's what it's all about. You just have to get started and it has to become part of your life. And if you don't get started, you don't get used to it and you don't reap the full benefit. And we kind of put in a post out there from AgileVisor, about this, and you see Thijs here working with, what was it, an iron cutting tool, right?
Yeah, we had to face off a screw.
Yeah, so we were debating how can we do this, and yes, this tool we can do, and that tool, and then Thijs just said, okay, let's just buy one and let's just do it. And then within a couple of minutes, it's done. And from now on, we were very comfortable using that tool, right? And of course, it's an
Yeah,
analogy, I know, but it is what it is. In the beginning, it was very much theory. Can we do it or not? And then you start doing it, and then it became just part of our, well, we Clusafel, we do a lot of jobs
yeah,
together, and now it's just, yeah, who cares, right?
right. Obstacles just start disappearing, literally.
Yes, absolutely right. And that's kind of, it's also going to be the key message or of this whole webcast, and that we encourage product owners to get started, right? And get out of the theorization mode. Now, so again, this is the same thing a bit on this slide here. Reading is not learning, right? Value comes from doing, and that's it. Right? And the first problem may be awkward, and you probably, have to do it a couple of times to get better and better, but then you will see the value. Yeah. I'm going to give you one example for myself. So I theorized about, kind of recording all my discussions with customers, with colleagues, etc. And then, make summaries of it and use it, to go further. So I started doing it more and more, and I guess now I've come to a phase that to a point I have, let's say, fireflies, and fireflies. I just say that whatever I'm in a meeting or I have a meeting scheduled, please join and help me. Now, Fireflies is now with me in every meeting, and even when I am not there, Fireflies go there on my behalf and then gives me back after the meeting. This was what I discussed, and this is the summary, etc. So Thijs did the interview with a large bank recently, and then he said, "Oh, well, I had a great conversation." I said, "Yes, I know, because I was there via my Fireflies, right?" But it took me a year, I think, to get there. And now I get so much benefit from it and so much learning. Yeah, that's just
Yeah,
for me the most practical example of start doing it.
yeah,
Sorry,
and
Thijs.
it's quite funny how you had to kick out two of your Fireflies employees out of this call before we even started because they were here
Yeah,
before we were in there,
yeah,
which was a
exactly.
funny example.
Yeah, true, true. Yeah. Okay, we're doing on time. We're doing good there, I think, right? So now we're going to go into the how you as a product owner in your job can start using AI. And I will fly through this a little bit more than I would have normally, but also the PSP AI Essentials training goes through those 7 stances. And that sometimes as a product owner, you are in your vision and strategy stance, right? In your visionary and strategy stance. So this is the first one, right? So here AI can really help you to spot patterns, right? Group feedback, or even, when you have a customer or interview and or with a multiple customers, record the whole session and then see if you missed things or you can spot, okay, this is how the sentiment of the group, or you can spot, areas where they were very enthusiastic or where the biggest gap was. All these kinds of things can help you in creating a good vision and strategy. Yeah. Same with customer representative. Yeah, you can listen at scale, summarize your interviews, tickets coming in, like via Jira, the tickets, just, make sure you analyze it, see if there is a trend, right? Understand your customer better. And the other thing I like is the last one, and be the voice, share insights with the team. As a product owner, it's very important that you give true and good information to the team so they can create the right solution. Now, also here, AI can help you a lot. Huh? And then just want to kind of do a quick preview about, something that Thijs and we do in the training as well. That's turning, a customer website into a podcast, but you can dream about it and more other things. So Thijs, I give you the floor.
Yeah, so what we found really valuable is time management. And whenever I'm on my way to like a meeting or on my way to a customer or stakeholder, maybe you want some background information on that meeting. And this is the exercise we do during our training. It's where we create a podcast simply, in this example, by entering a URL into Notebook LM. So if we move on to the next slide, you'll see the quick interface, and we take people through this more uh, precisely during the training. But if you can upload a link at the bottom of the screen here, I just uploaded the Scrum.org link for, well, everyone knows about it. So you can actually check whether it's anywhere remotely good. You can alter the settings. You want a short podcast, you want a long podcast, and you can even input multiple sources at the same time. So in the left, you see home-scrum.org, and that is the only source I've used. Then I only clicked on audio overview, and that is basically just generating it. I had to wait a couple of minutes, and just for the sake of this being a live presentation and live demo, we don't want to generate it now, so I did that in advance. But these are truly the only inputs I've given. So let's hear a bit of it.
Yeah.
Ever tried to implement Scrum and found it felt, well, a bit robotic, like you were just checking off boxes, maybe not truly transforming how you work?
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Perhaps you've wondered if there's a deeper, more effective way to apply agile principles, to solve those really complex problems, whether it's launching some groundbreaking new product or ever tried to
All right.
implement.
I think we get the gist of it.
Yeah.
But it's a really nice way to learn about a new topic. I've been in university for a long time. I put down my Fireflies, I make a voice recorder. One of my friends go to the lectures, one of five. We upload this lecture to each other. Then we create a summary or we create a podcast about it. And anything that was explained within like 2 hours of work, just distilled it down to like 10 minutes of critical information. And the way you then consume this knowledge is also up for grabs nowadays. You can do a podcast, you can create a video, you can create a summary and read it. There's so many possibilities that we need to go through, and this is what we try to teach during the training. And this is just one example, just creating a podcast.
And it sounds simple, right? But it's about doing it. That's the whole thing. We want to get you behind the buttons, right? We want you to really start doing it. And I'll give you my last example about this one is that I had to go to a visit, very busy, an hour drive, and I had to meet the CFO and the CEO. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'll just do a quick download from LinkedIn, from the PDF file from the two persons, put it in a podcast, generated it, and then while I was driving, I was listening for 10 minutes per person to kind of get a very good overview about, okay, what was this CEO all about and what is this CFO all about it. And of course, I also did the website of the customer. So I was very well prepared while driving over. And those are the efficiencies you gain, right? Now, we're going to move on because we can come up with many, many, many more of those examples, which will help you in the life as a product owner, but also as a business analyst, as a leader, as in a lot of other cases as well, as a scrum master, as a coach. So this training is not only for product owners. Now, experimenter stands, right? You can prototype much faster. So now, if you want to do, let's say, a quick experiment, you have to put it in a story. You have to wait until the team has time, whatever. But now with AI at your hands, you can go much faster and get much better and clearer input, and also test your experiment better with AI and validate it if it really will work your way, right? Or with a decision maker. Sometimes you come to situations as a product owner that you have to make a decision. That's one of the other stances that you do as a product owner. And you can even validate your decision. Did I make the right decision? Are there other decisions out there? Could I take another approach, for example? Or, you load up, the seven stances for Scrum.org and say, hey, I've got this problem. These are the seven stances. Can you work with me and figure out in all the stances what would be the approach so I can take the best approach going forward, right? AI can help you with that. And same with collaboration and influencing, right? So build a prompt. I like this one as well. So I'm just picking and choosing here and there also because of timing purposes, right? And again, the training will more, but share tools, build a prompt library for the team, right? So if you are in your company, right, or for your own company or wherever, and you always have to say, okay, I'm in an automotive industry, I'm under pressure, and we do a lot of electrical, blah, blah, blah. And with all this in mind, I want to kind of know the following. Now, that whole part, the context, you can share with as an prompt library with the team that the team can then start using instead of typing it all the time, right? And missing out some important context information when you do a prompt.
Yeah, this also ties into one question being asked, which was, is there a way to prompt to avoid made-up answers, to avoid hallucinations? And I think that is just done by prompting often enough, getting to know how to prompt, and then saving the right context. So if you always have the right context ready to upload, you will avoid the hallucinations that can generate with AI. And to avoid all this timing, just open prompt manager or something.
Yeah, but what I also sometimes do, that helps also, is if you get an answer and then you go to another LLM, right? And then you say, can you validate this answer? And then after the other LLM will come, well, there's no evidence, I cannot find any backup. So you can also play around with that. The more and more you start using it and playing with it. So I use Perplexity and ChatGPT a lot next to each other. So sometimes I ask, what ChatGPT comes, I pick it up and I put it in Perplexity, and I want to kind of let Perplexity validate it. Yeah. But in the end, it's also good common sense, right? And that's why also I said in the beginning, product ownership still needs to be there. It needs a human-centric, validation if the answers are true. You need to challenge it as well, and be cautious about it. Now, I guess that's kind of as short as answer as we can give in this space, right? Now, the orchestrator, we talked about it already. That's about making things efficient in your job. Offload admin work, right? Draw answers, create presentations, and all those kinds of stuff, right? And in the future, we are already talking about this, Thijs and myself, that we now have an AI essentials training, but there must come soon an AI advanced training where we get more into this area about using AI solutions, to kind of solve problems, right? But we'll get there. Let's first crawl before we start walking. Security and ethics, I think we also talked about it. Unfair outcomes, biases, unsafe outputs, that you can get. Ability to roll back and recover, right? That's also something that if the AI did make a mistake, right, for your customers, that you have the ability to kind of correct it, and so you also have to be prepared for that, right? Not just throw out the tool into the public, but then when something happens, that you're prepared to kind of fix it and undo the damage, essentially, right? That's also very important. And there are, of course, much more topics. Now, that's kind of the two areas, the two dualities of AI for the product owner. First of all, in your products, but also helping you as a product owner in your job. Now, a quick link into Scrum. We're getting into quarter to the hour. So also with AI, the foundation is still there. With Scrum, we talk about empiricism, inspect and adapt a lot, right? So stay with AI. If you implement AI, inspect and adapt the hell out of it, right? Make it also visible if something goes wrong, right? And then if you go into the Scrum events itself, you can also see here where AI can help you, right? In refinement, record the whole session about and all the questions that your developers have about the story or a feature, and then say, hey, can you already generate some stories for us, right? It may probably not the best stories, but with a lot of context and all the discussions that you have, it may help you a lot on this one, right? Or come up with dependencies that we have to take care of, right? Or in sprint review, use the insights from the customer's feedback, or in your dailies, right? Test the ideas. So a lot of, and I'm going very faster in this area, but those are now into the topic. We'll probably understand there's a lot to be gained in this area. Yeah. So yeah, Scrum is still there. Scrum helps, and so there is a place for AI in that as well. And then now we want to kind of move back to theory and practice, and then we have also a couple of minutes left, I guess, in the end for some questions, perhaps if there are out there.
Yeah, there's quite a few interesting questions. So I'm looking
Sorry,
forward to it.
Thijs?
There's quite a few interesting ones. So
Oh, all right. Okay, I'll speed up then. That's probably more interesting than what I'm saying, right? So, from theory to practice, again, it's about the duality, right? You must lead both, we say, responsibly and measurably, right? That is where we need to go as a product owner. In the training that we have, just understand that hey, we are there to practice, right? To get your hands dirty, so that you don't have let's say a sort of thing about I know about it, but I'm not using it, right? You learn with peers. We discuss a lot, right? We understand where AI can help you in this one, right? It leaves you with templates and prompts and confidence, right? But the most important thing I want to say for expectation settings, this training is not about AI solutions in your product. This is about AI helping you as a product owner. That is what this training is all about, although we touch a little bit on the other area as well. But that is indeed, in the end, another training. Yeah. So just to make sure that you're, and by the way, this was one of our first test trainings before it became a real Scrum.org training, right? It was so fun to have that in the beginning, and yeah, it's just it was a long way, but I'm so glad that we ended up here, right? Now,
yes.
one of the areas that is important is security and ethics. We also talk about that a lot. Can you use in your company? What are the ethical things you have to take care of? The security that you have to take care of, privacy, etc. And then Thijs is going to run us through a quick exercise, fact versus fiction, about these ties in security and ethics questions, right?
Yes, and I will do it quickly because I want to move on to the Q&A as well to answer some questions. So I'll just go through the questions. Think for yourself, is this fact or is this fiction? We will generate the answers on the screen. So the first one is, your prompt and response is sent to a remote server and could be read by real people. And this is a very true concern. So this is correct. It is sent to the remote server and people can analyze it. And this ties into the next question, which is that your data can be used to train models. Because this is also true, and the main reason why people can look into it. If you pay for certain features, for certain AI systems, you can actually turn this feature off on some. First, in ChatGPT, for example, but it's not possible with the free versions and not possible with many other AIs because you're training the model with your own data. And the next one is
I
AI
just want to
systems.
mention a little bit here, Thijs, if you're okay with that,
Yeah.
is that chances that it will happen is very slim, right? So this is a very black and white answer. Yes, people can see it, but the chances that people are seeing it is enormously low, right? But that's something we debate in the training as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very true. The non-AI systems are able to make neutral decisions because they're not biased. And I think we've talked enough about hallucinations to state that this is obviously fiction. The next one is that AI's systems are able to generate fictitious responses. And that is also true. Ethical AI guarantees that the model will not cause any harm to the user. And this one is false because there is a debate around it. There is guardrails, there is safety measures for these kind of things, for data, private data being leaked. And also, if there's people using ChatGPT to chat about mental health, there is regulations in there. It will start recommending you to actually speak to someone else. But sometimes, if you end up in a philosophical debate, we've seen that last week where a few articles actually came online where the parents of some kid, they stated that the AI actually facilitated their kids' mental health problems. And we've seen this a lot. And ChatGPT is actually, or OpenAI is being is in a lawsuit right now against these things because it is not perfect, and you can bypass these guardrails. And then the next one is a single image generation uses as much electricity as it takes to charge your smartphone to full. Though it may sound ridiculous, that is also true. So
Yeah.
that loading bar that might take like 3 seconds to generate something is actually your iPhone charging, and that is just a really big amount of energy being wasted.
That's what
And
we mean by using it responsibly as well. That's what we talk about. Yeah.
and executing a single prompt will consume 10 milliliters of water, which is also true. So really use it with great care and think about every prompt you send, especially when you start generating prompts without good context, you will get bad answers and then you have to generate again and again and again. So proper prompting is very important.
Yeah. Now, we are at the end, and of course, I think we kind of address the duality, right? And we hope that someday we will see one of our trainings or one of the PSTs, my colleagues, right? They are excellent in this training as well. I can only recommend join this PSPO AI Essentials training because it will help you enormously and understand better what AI is and the ethical part and the security part and etc. Right? So, but okay, that was the end summary. So let's now go to the Q&A.
Yeah, great. Thank you both so much. That was a lot. So I didn't want to interrupt too much with questions because I wanted to make sure you got through everything. So this question here ties into what you were just talking about. So how can product owners balance ethical AI adoption with rapid innovation, especially in education and sustainability focused sectors?
So how can AI wait,
How
can I
can product owners balance ethical AI adoption with
yeah.
rapid innovation, especially in education and sustainability focused sectors?
Okay. So this one is very hard and might not necessarily be up to the product owners themselves because you're not the one you're the one using the AI, but you're not the one developing it. And a lot of this ties into the development of AI and how you use it within companies. That is kind of more within your scope. And how to do it ethically. I think it all boils down to transparency. So if your company has any AI regulations at all, it needs to be very transparent about it. And that is basically all you can do at the moment because there sometimes is a black box within the AI. You don't know what is happening inside. But if you are transparent about what it's doing and the outcome of it, that should be as good as we can do at the moment.
Yeah. And this was a hard question.
Yeah, but a fun one too.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one here, can you give an example of thin slice delivery in the context of AI?
Niels, you
Yeah,
are
well,
more.
yeah. I mean, I don't know you in university, right, Thijs? Perhaps there is something there, but you know what? I work with other product owners, right, and they are kind of in the chatbots because chatbots are out there already for a long time, right? And they really say that you know when you release that one, you really have to monitor it almost like on a daily basis, what is being generated, etc., and then adjust it, right? So that's very thin sliced. Yes, you can release it, and but then you have to keep refining the hell out of it until it becomes in a state that you can really start using it, right? Or it becomes more reliable. And that's very quick inspect and adapt, inspect and adapt.
Okay. Yeah, we had a example that couldn't quite work with this because it was in elderly care, that we were programming a bot for mental health with the elderly, and that one you cannot deliver that quickly. There's a lot of regulations around it.
Sounds it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So another question. So this is an interesting concern. What I am worried about is that when we can say I'm trying to read this correctly. I think this person, Maria here, who asked this, they're worried about becoming too dependent on tools like ChatGPT because they used to write their user stories, but they think about, what if I don't have access to ChatGPT? Will I still be able to write an effective user story? So maybe
Yeah.
some advice on finding that balance.
Yeah. One thing is, though, that these models are out there and they are there to stay, and that is guaranteed. Even if they won't be connected to the internet soon, the models are still out there, and you can even operate them offline. So becoming too dependent could be a problem, but it's also a mastery of skill. So it's also a very good thing if you become dependent on it, because you'll just be more efficient.
Yeah, and also I want to say that I also learn from it, right? So let's say I answer an email, right? And I do it to the best I can, right? So I still want to be authentic in that. But then I run it into Perplexity and say, can you look at my answer, not change it too much, but can you give me some pointers? And then it gives me really good pointers. So the next time when I write an email, I'm already better at it. And after 10 times, I'm even better at writing the email myself, right? So
Yeah.
you can also look at it that way, that yeah, you can see it in that way, but that can also help you and get yourself to the next level.
Yeah,
That's
makes sense.
really good advice. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's another one here. Let's see. So this seems kind of complex, but it's a good one to
Oh,
end on, I suppose.
can you take another one?
So, given the recent reports of the cons of AI psychosis, how can we as product owners build AI-enabled products that maximize value and innovation while incorporating safeguards to protect users' mental health, such as ethical governance and human-centered design principles?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
Can I take
think,
it a little bit, Thijs, and then you can
yeah,
take over? I think this has a lot to do with training the model, right? Training your AI tool, and that's kind of what we want you to do is to kind of look at, okay, can it be harmful? Where are the pitfalls? And then make sure that your model or your AI solution is trained to avoid that. And also, keep monitoring, right? Keep inspecting and adapting about these. Try to answer, get to those harmful answers, right? And to make sure that your model gets better and better at it. But in the end, it remains risky and it remains unpredictable, and it's our job to kind of take that out. Thijs, sorry. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure this is much of the concern of the product owner right now, because it's about human-centered design principle and ethical governance. I guess it's very interesting as a philosophical take, but I don't know how much, with how much credibility I can really answer this question, to be honest.
Yeah, but at the same time, Thijs, if you are a company and you release an AI-driven product, right, then you're
Yeah.
also responsible for the answers that it gives.
Yes.
So you can say, okay, we're not responsible, the product owner, but the company may be very much hurt, right? So yes, in the open space, whatever, right? But if you're working for a company, then of course, yeah, you have to be very careful with that. And all I'm saying is that train your model well, be very well aware of the pros and the cons of the AI solution you're using, train it very, etc. Well, I'm repeating myself. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we are at our time. We do have a few questions we did not get to. I will share those with Niels and Thijs to figure out a way to address those. Thank you so much to you both today. This was awesome. And I think our audience got a lot out of it based off of the feedback we're getting back. And thank you to our audience for hanging with us for an hour. And I hope that this helped you on your AI journey. So thank you, everybody. Take care and scrum on. Bye.
Thank you for
Bye.
listening.